What do you do when the very people who bless you are the same ones who curse you? How does this make any sense? Some time ago, my grandma, she fell ill, and the entire family had to come to a house, and I was put in a situation where I had to be around the same people who tried to speak blessings over my life as well as speak curses over my life. So for 8 years we haven't been talking, and then this illness came up in my family, and now I was kind of like being forced to be in communication with them, be in communication with this part of my family members who really hurt me. And today we're talking about the words that build us and the ones we choose to break. So welcome above the clouds. Come close for a moment and just come and sit here with me while I unpack with you an experience that I would really love to share with you all. I want to talk about something tender today, and I really want to just handle it with the most kindness that it deserves. Something about the words people speak over us, the ones that lift us up and the ones that try to tear us down, and how in the end we get to decide which ones to keep. Not long ago, my uncle stood during a family prayer and told me, God is going to bless you in ways you don't even understand. And I really held onto those words. I held onto those words so tightly because I was going through a situation and I really started losing hope. I really started to use the Trinity within myself, which is hope. And I needed someone to just stand with the slingshot and really just aim at me and release the grip of the slingshot so it can really just come towards me with a crazy amount of pressure and just fire that hope within me again. So what's interesting to me is that the same family that spoke the blessing over me is also the family that spoke words that really cut me deep. Words like "you're just a waitress in the sky," or the painful curse, "no one will ever stay in your life." And for a long time, I carried those words like weight. Everything I did, these words always came back like a slingshot right into my chest. And I wondered how the same people who saw a blessing over me could also dismiss my worth so easily. These are the people that we don't get to decide, and we don't get to choose them. You know, God gave us family as our first source of support, our first source of love. So when this happened to me, I really just couldn't understand, and I kept on wondering how. Felt confused even more than you are feeling right now. So while they called me just a waitress in the sky, they quietly encouraged their daughter to copy everything I did. From school choices, yes, to career paths. It was like just watching someone try to walk in my footsteps, while the same people called my path insignificant. And then came the real twist. When I left to pursue my flying career overseas, I had to leave the band I really loved. It was a worship band that I really, really loved. I really loved just going to the band. I just didn't miss going to the band because I was really passionate about, my walk with God. And I was the one who opened the door for her to step into my place as one of the singers. I actually took time to go to the rehearsal. We actually drove there together. And For the entire rehearsal, I stayed with her. I introduced her to the band before she was now going to have to go on her own journey. But how do you make sense of that? How can someone be so overlooked yet so copied at the same time? But here's what I have realized. You can't always make sense of other people's actions. You can view them and you can observe the actions and their behavior, but you cannot always make sense of their actions. But you can recognize your own worth even when others send mixed signals. Their behavior wasn't about me. I've come to realize that now. It was about them. Maybe they saw my light, even if they couldn't fully celebrate it. Maybe they recognized my part had purpose, even before I recognized it, even if they tried to diminish it. But I chose to open that door for her anyway, not because I owed them anything, but because my heart operates in grace, not revenge. And this is what we're building here. This is more than a podcast for me. It is really a sanctuary of trust, a place where we completely dislocate from the world's shallow opinions and locate ourselves in the raw sacred truth of the pain people are afraid to speak about, the pain that people are sitting with in the dark, the pain that people are going to sleep with, waking up with, and not telling anyone. This is where we end the generational curses, not by pretending they didn't happen, but by dragging them into the light and saying, your power stops with me. I will not pass you on. And this is where we learn to see the importance of each other's hearts, the transparency of each other's hearts, where we stop comparing wounds and start learning from someone else's template of pain. Because someone else's survival guide might be the very map that gets you out of your own wilderness. And in this sanctuary, we remember the sovereign rule. God always has the last say. If He allowed the very thing that shattered you, it doesn't mean He abandoned you. It doesn't mean that He's not with you. Oh no, God is always with you. It means He trusted you with a core message that's so important. He knew the only way you would ever understand it, ever understand the lesson, the reason behind it, was to endure it, to live it, to be forged in the fire. So you could one day turn and hand that message like a life-giving stone to the woman coming behind you, lost in the same dark. That's when I truly learned to receive the blessing without needing the approval of the ones who spoke it, because they already didn't understand my career. They don't know what it entailed, what it took of me to have gotten, to that extension of that career. It's something that they would never understand. And I've realized not to explain anything that I know someone else don't have the capacity to understand, the vision to see, or the clarity to even acknowledge. And I learned to release the curse, not with anger, but with compassion for them and for the version of me that once believed it, the broken version of myself. That's how I started protecting my peace. I now understand that a blessing doesn't lose its power just because it comes from an imperfect person. And a curse only holds power if you believe it. That's how I began building a life, and a life of purpose rooted in what I believe about myself. Because at the end of the day, you are the person who have to go through this journey on your own. No one would ever understand your journey as you do. And I've realized not to believe what they said. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've had family members, friends, colleagues, or voices in your head try to name you something you're not. But I'm really here today to remind you that your identity isn't up for debate. Your worth isn't determined by their words, and your future isn't limited by their vision. You get to choose which words you carry, and you get to bless yourself. You get to rise not in spite of your story, my love, but because of it. And let me speak this directly to your spirit. This is for anybody who has ever been mocked for their calling or their career, questioned for their career choice, made to feel too much or not enough because of the way you speak, the way you dress, the way you sound, the way you carry your story, the person you are or your identity. People will not always love the reflection you show them, because sometimes your truth exposes their comfort with lies, and your light reveals their choice to sit in the dark where they don't have to change, the dark where they can just be in stagnant mode every day, not changing. But listen closely. It was never about them. It has always been about you. About you choosing to stand as a lighthouse on a hill, unshakable, guided by a deeper current, and shining not for applause or performance, but for purpose. And the painful truth for those who break others, they will never get to taste that kind of identity that you hold, that unwavering sense of self, because they are comfortable in the small, shadowed rooms of criticism where they don't have to change, where they can show up as, yes, the evil-rooted person that they are in their everyday lives, while you build for a wide open skies of your calling. So let them talk. You keep building, you keep rising, you keep restoring, and let them doubt you. You keep believing in yourself and your foundation, because you know your foundation is built on the rock. Your century was never meant to fit inside their understanding. And this journey hasn't been easy. It really hasn't been easy for me, but it's been sacred. It gave me so much discernment. And if you take one thing from today, let it be this: you are not who they say you are. You are who you choose to become, and that is a blessing no one can take away from you. Thank you for listening with your heart so openly and receiving my experience. I really hope that you will learn something out of today. And if this resonated with you, I'd really love for you just to share your story with me. And until next time, remember to speak kindly to yourself. You deserve it. Sanctuary will always be here when you need it. Remember, you are held, you are heard, you are understood, and you are seen. This is Geraldine Fritz above the clouds.